can't diffuse these incidents. They turn in shootings. The key to dropping the crime rate isn't arresting them after they shoot. The key to dropping the crime rate is getting people to make different decisions. And so we made a commitment to something we call ShotStoppers. We put $10 million into violence prevention. And now everybody in the country is watching us. And this is what community violence intervention means. It means building relationships with people who are at risk of engaging these activities and help them solve problems in their lives. Because a lot of times there are things going on in these individuals' lives making them angry, they're feeling pain, and that's not something the police department is geared to solve. So we went out for proposals, got 30 proposals, and we picked the 6 best groups, and each has a defined boundary in which they are, for the next 2 years, embedded in those neighborhoods. They're visiting the high schools. They're developing relationships with teenagers. They're in the community talking about who's beefing with who. And 2 of these are in District 1, because we've got 2 parts of District 1 where we know we've got issues. The area from Burt to Hubble north of Curtis has been long time, much too violent area. And then the area basically between Puritan and West Chicago along Greenfield. And so what we have done that's unique is we have individual organizations that are responsible. And so I want you to get a chance to hear from the people who will be leading the prevention efforts for the next 2 years here in District 1, and that's Negus Vu of Detroit People's Community and Eric Ford of Detroit 300. I'll ask Vu to come up first.
Above. Through relationship building. So I'm going to pass it over to Ortegas. He's like a team members of the street outreach worker team, and he's going to give you more of detail of and the things that we're doing in the community.
Peace and love, everyone. How everyone doing today? Great, great. So once again, my name is Ortegas Jackson. I am an outreach worker. We just, first of all, show love to our children. See, it starts with our children, because being in the schools is like one of the greatest things, because that's where we're going. Into these schools, let's talk to these kids and let these kids know that we are there. We're not there today and gone tomorrow, because we come back, and we continuously come back to the schools to talk to these children. The one other thing we do is the neighborhood patrol. We patrol the neighborhood that these same children stay in. So when they see us, they say they see great people like us coming to the schools, coming to the communities, driving down their street, talking to their parents, talking to the people across the street. So the major 2 things that we do as a community-based organization in the community is we communicate and operate as a team with our young children.
And then last but not least, we're also doing referrals through the juvenile courts. We're reaching them in that way. So there's a whole ecosystem that we're doing. But people in the community, we welcome you to contact us, reach out to us. Our email's info@thepeoplesaction.com. Our website is thepeoplesaction.com. And also our social media is The People's Action. So you're going to see him. You're going to see me. You're going to see several of us with this in the community. So please reach out. You can also talk to us after.
areas, if you
Good evening, friends and neighbors. My name is Mr. Blue, president and founder of Detroit 300 LLC. This is Mr. Eric Ford. We've been doing this for like 13 years. We've been in the community. We know the community. And what we're doing now in CVI is we're more focused on the violent crime part of it. So in area code 48227, we have been focused on violent crime. One of the ways we've been doing this is through community engagement. We've been getting together with the stakeholders, business holders, community associations, the radio patrols, anybody that has anything to do with knowing once it's happening. In our communities, we know who Pookie and Ray Ray is. We know what they're doing and where they're doing it. So what we're trying to do is make sure the community we get the buy-in from the community, and we're doing that collectively and also through patrols. We've been putting up street signs that endorses what we're doing. Street posters in different areas on how to contact us. We've located a building. We actually brick and mortar right inside the zip code. We're looking forward to having a grand opening sometime in the next 2 weeks. We're going to use this building as also a resource hub where you can come and get good and relevant information on how we are working in your community, how you can work with us in our community, and the law enforcement agencies that we're working for. What we're trying to do is mitigate crime, like a lot of the other people. We want to get in front of it. We want to find the would-be shooters, the could-be shooters, and the gonna-be shooters. We want to mitigate crime on the level of all the way from the elementary schools, K through 12. A lot of stuff that's happening is actually happening on social media. A lot of stuff that's happening on social media are our children, our grandchildren, our nieces and nephews. We have to be engaged in what's going on. I'll give you our contact numbers, area code 313-428. Is 1592, and that's Detroit, Michigan, 4822. To the schools, the patrols that we're doing in the morning, the patrols that we're doing in the evenings, and also the safe school zones that we have done in the perimeter of our area for operation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, first thing I want to say, I got a Detroit police. I got a job today. I'm gonna tell you what happened today. Just before we came over here, I had several guys doing patrol at the elementary school on Grand River and Hubble, and I got a call that it was a man on the porch at an abandoned house, and he was trying to snatch kids in there. And my team was down there with the principal. And I was on the way over there, but on the way over there, I couldn't think of the precinct commander. So I called Captain May. And Captain May is out of town. And Captain May got on that phone and called the lieutenant of Special Ops. Special Ops had 3 cars over there in 3 minutes. And they got, yeah. So now I got this guy. They put him in the car. I told my team, good job. And I got to say something about the 8th precinct commander, because I got a spreadsheet about a young 16-year-old getting murdered. So I sent a team over there Monday, and he called me. But the commander called me that morning. He ain't worried about the spreadsheet. He said, Mr. Ford, 16-year-old was shot, and he got a little brother that's 16. So can you get over there and try to talk to this brother before somebody retaliate? And so I sent the team over there, and they called me back. They like, prayers, it's not in our zone. It's across the street. It's on the north side. We're on the west side. I said, well, guess what? Our zone is on the north side, too. This one city, one Detroit. So go over there on the north side and handle it. So they talked to the father. They talked to the son. The son promised he wasn't going back, try to do no retaliating and everything like that. I'm a little nervous, y'all, because Saturday, it'd be 39 years when my mother was murdered. So here in Detroit. So I'm a little, I'm just creeping up on that day. But other than that, I try to keep, I do mostly night patrols. I try to keep guys, we stay in the zones at the schools. We stay at this little store, McVee's, what's the name of it? McVee's, that's starting all the trouble on Greenfield. I spoke with the owner, and I'm trying to get her to become a green light. I might get with the precinct, see if we can just go in there as a team and just have a talk with her, because they behind the glass. And last time I talked to the commander, a fight broke out over there. A shootout happened on the 2 blocks over. And when we went in there, a young lady saw Detroit 300, and she pulled us to the side. And we walked with her to the corner, and she saw just sitting on the corner, empty, but they had cameras around the house. So we like, what is this about? So the relationship we've been having with DPD is I can't say nothing about it. And so can we give a hand clap to DPD, please? I guess that's about it. Everybody know I don't like getting on this microphone. Thank you all.
So this is a new way to fight crime, and over the next 2 years, we're going to see if it works, but I am extremely encouraged by what I'm hearing, because the reality is these folks can get information that the police can't, and they can talk to people in a way that police can't, and we're measuring it in each of their zones. Every single week they get a report card, and they know how they're doing, and the great thing is these 6 organizations are all helping each other. They're giving each other tips, trading information. It's going to be very exciting. Let me talk to you about what I've been trying to do. I never thought it would be so hard to cut property taxes for Detroiters. But no change is easy, as I've learned. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about it today. And then at the end of it, I'm going to give a tool that every single Detroiter can go and see what their tax cut will be. Exactly how it affects them, so that with all the noise out there, you can make up your own mind. But here's the reality of what we're doing. This is going to be a 17% property tax cut on average for people. We're going to cut the taxes on buildings, houses, and the like, and we're going to double the taxes on the land, which means that you as a homeowner pay less. People who own abandoned buildings, they pay more. People who have surface parking lots, they pay more. People who have scrap yards and auto yards, they have all that space, they pay more. This is a city I believe we ought to have, that the homeowners ought to pay less, and the people who have neglected their property ought to pay more. Interestingly, we actually are having a debate about this. And what I'm shooting for is that November 5, 2024, when we go to the polls for the president, we're going to decide as a city, is this what we want to do? Because nobody did this before, and I'm going to show you, nobody has declined the way the city did, where a million people moved out and left all this vacant land behind. So here's what we're shooting for. I'm confident we're going to get this out of the House before they break in November. We expect to get through the Senate in the first quarter of next year, because the legislature has to let us have a vote. And then City Council has to decide to place it on the ballot. They're going to have to make that decision in the spring. And then we're going to have an entire year to sort out the facts. Because if you've heard anything about it, it's all kinds of conflicting information. You're going to have a year to sort out the facts and decide for yourself. Right? What can be better than that, than the people of the city deciding what their tax structure is going to be? Because I promise you, none of you had a say in the fact that you've got just about the highest property tax rates in the country. But you can have a say in whether you like to lower them and move them on to the people who have abandoned property. And then, if you vote it, approve it November 24, your next tax bill on July 25 will be the cut. So it'll happen. So I want to thank our sponsors, Representative Stephanie Young from this district, Karen Whitsett, who represents part of this district, Tyrone Carter, and Alabas Farhat. They have been phenomenal. They are up in Lansing saying to the rest of the legislators of the state, Detroiters should have the right to decide this for ourselves. And they say it over and over. And the 4 reps from this district have also been strongly supportive, along with Karen Whitsett and Stephanie Young, Lori Pahutsky, Natalie Price. In fact, every single Detroit rep, there's only been one that voted against this, and actually she lives at Harper Woods and only has a little piece of Detroit. The Detroiters have been fighting for this, and we're going to keep going. So, you all know your property taxes are higher. How far out of line are they? We aren't quite the highest. We're pretty close. So we're at, if you're a homeowner with a personal residence exemption, you're at 67 mills. East Point 64, Warren's 57, Southfield's 56, Grosse Point's 53. You've heard from your friends in the suburbs that they're paying less in taxes. It's true. And this chart, to me, is a clear picture. All the cities in red are paying over 60 mills in taxes for their homeowners, and the cities in blue are paying in the 50s. And so we're up there with Harper Woods and Hazel Park and Melvindale, but Dearborn and Southfield and Grosse Point and Warren, they're paying less. I don't think that's right. I'm trying to do something about it. So, what makes up your 67 mills? If you actually go through your whole bill, basically a big part of it is 20 you pay to the city of Detroit to run our operations. There's about 7 that go to the city of Detroit in debt, 6 that's state money that goes for schools, 13 pays school debt, 17 is county. That's not just Wayne County, it's the Intermediate School District, it's the Art Institute, it's the community college, et cetera, and a little over 4 to the Library Commission. That's what's on your bill today. And this is the way it works in Michigan. Your building, your house is taxed at 67 mills, and the land under your house is taxed at 67 mills. If you're a business owner, your business building is taxed at 67 mills, and the parking lot and the land under your business is taxed at 67 mills. This is the way it's always worked, except in Detroit. It has encouraged the kind of speculation and blight that we've gotten used to, because we've got so much vacant land in this city that the assessor has to assess it at close to zero. And so you can buy vacant lots in the city for $500. Any one of those lots in the suburbs would be $5,000. Okay, you can't go buy a lot in the suburb for $500 to build a house on. It's $5,000 minimum. Some are a lot more than that. And so we have 30,000 vacant lots in the city owned by private owners. And their average tax on those lots is $30 a year. Now, why do 30,000 people write a check to the county treasurer for $30 every year? It's so little money, the whole non-do is a lottery ticket. And you know what those vacant lots look like, right? I mean, the city cuts them 5 times a year. Or in many cases, the neighbors cut them. But if the neighbors don't, Brad Dick and his crew come through 5 times a year, costs $100, because those people who own those vacant lots, they're not coming out and cutting them. And you know what's happening on these vacant lots? All kinds of illegal dumping, right? And we're spending millions to go out and pick it back up. I think those individuals should pay more than $30 a year to neglect that property. I got a whole bunch of people arguing with me in Lansing, but that's what I believe. They should pay more than $30 a year. And so why do they pay $30 a year? They're lottery tickets. They're hoping some big development is going to come along and somebody's going to pay them hundreds of thousands. I'm going to show you just one guy, and there's a number who do this. One guy owns all 261 vacant parcels. He bought them in the treasurer's auctions, basically $500 each. He owns 22 acres, but he spread them out so wherever anybody wants to build, they got to write him a big check. There's a lot of people doing this. He pays $6,500 for 20 people who do not live in the city, and in many cases don't live in this country, to buy the vacant lots in Detroit and sit on them and wait for their the homeowner 15% by doing it this way. Cut taxes. Now this they cut It's uniform. What does it do? It changes incentives. So here's what's going to happen. One day in a day, November, you get from down, and you'll knock your overall bill down about 53 mils. That's what I'm proposing that you do. And when you do that, you'll get 97% of all Detroit homeowners will get some tax cut. And Stephanie Young put in the legislation, no homeowner gets a tax increase. So this isn't somewhere a few people win and a few people lose like it usually happens in this city. At least for homeowners, this is one where homeowners win, some other folks lose. So the 14 mil cut applies to improvements for all property owners. Somebody tells you we're picking and choosing? No. Every single building in this city gets a 14 mil cut. If you're a renter, your landlord gets a 14 mil cut. Apartments get a 14 mil cut. Retail buildings get a 14 mil cut. The Metro Detroit Black Business Owners Association is supporting this bill because these small businesses who've got these storefronts, they're going to see a cut. Factories on the part of their property where their factory is going to see a cut. But when you double the tax on land, who pays the most? It's the people who own the most land, right? And so who is that? Well, it's the owners of vacant lots. Those guys paying $30 are going to pay $60. I wish I could make it more, but we have treated the owners of vacant commercial buildings. If you've got an abandoned commercial building, your building's considered zero because it hasn't any value. All you're doing is taxing the land. And I'm going to show you there's almost no taxes on vacant commercial buildings. Scrap yards and salvage yards. I don't have anything against the scrap yards and salvage yards, but we got more here than any place in America. They spread out over all this land because the tax on land is so cheap, and the owners of surface parking lots. That's who's going to get hit with the increases when the homeowners see reductions. This vacant apartment building today pays $251 a year in property taxes. I want you to think about what you pay. They pay $251 because the building's worth zero. The land under the building is only taxed at $251. I got a chance to talk to the neighbors, and here's LaTanya Patterson. She has lived in that small house, her family, for 40 years. She pays more in taxes on her house than the people who are owning that abandoned apartment building that's bringing down the whole neighborhood. And she thinks that's wrong. She thinks we should be doubling the taxes on the person who walked away from the apartment building, and she thinks she deserves a cut. Question is, you agree with her. This abandoned auto shop's been vacant for about 20 years. It pays $400 a year in taxes. They boarded it up and left it. But Marguerite Wynn lives next door. She's been there for 35 years. She remembered the auto shop when it worked. She saw it closed up. She's watched it abandoned. She's paying more in that nice house next door. Can you imagine that? Year after year living next to that abandoned house. Everybody who comes to visit you drives past the abandoned commercial auto shop before they get to your place. She's paying more in taxes on her house than that boarded up building is. I want to change that. Shouldn't seem much of a debate. Almost exactly 50 years ago, Coleman Young was elected mayor of Detroit. This was like the stretch run in his first election. Some of us still remember that, right? I was in high school in Detroit at the time. And here's what he said on the campaign trail. He said, right now, Detroit's tax structure rewards people who let their properties run down and penalizes those who build it up. Crazy, isn't it? That's what Mayor Young said 50 years ago. It's still crazy. And he could never have envisioned the amount of abandonment that we have. After 50 years, I want to give the voters a chance to change it. So, we've got more than 400 scrap yards and auto yards in this city. They're going to get about a 50% increase, which is still less than they're paying in the suburbs. But there aren't a whole lot of these scrap yards and auto yards in the suburbs. They've spread out into every square acre of Detroit until 3 years. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along. But they got angry that 3 years ago I put a moratorium on. I said no more scrap yards and auto yards taking over our neighborhoods. And We're going to see an increase in parking lot. We've got more parking lots in downtown Detroit than almost any city in America. Why do we have vacant lots that we park cars on? Because the taxes are so low, they make money just parking the car. How many times have we complained about all the parking lots downtown? I want to increase, leave it as a parking lot, but if they build up, people increase, then they'll get a break on what we don't want the vacant lots. And so Stephanie Young, your representative, said, I want 3 groups protected when I sponsor this legislation. First, the side lot owners. We now have 25,000 side lots in the city of Detroit, been purchased from the land bank for $100. It's the biggest, yeah, you can clap for that, it's okay. It's the biggest transfer of land to government to city residents has been done in this country, and I love driving around and seeing what everybody's done with their side lots. Second, urban farms and community gardens. We've made sure they get no tax increase under this plan. They're doing a good job putting land to productive use, and they're supporting us. And she wanted to make sure property owners with an NEZ, a neighborhood enterprise zone, aren't hurt. I'm going to talk a little bit about NEZs today because there's some confusion on it, but you're going to understand at least, you may disagree with me, but you're going to understand why I'm trying to do what I'm doing. So here's what Stephanie Young said on side lots. We're going to put this protection in the bill. The average homeowner is going to see a 17% cut, $184. Your side lot will go up an average of $26. Great majority of people are going to be just fine. Representative Young said when she was a district manager, she sold sometimes 2 and 3 side lots to people. She ain't going to go back and look at them and say, hey, your taxes went up because you bought a side lot from me. And so she put language in that up to 4 side lots, there'll be no tax increase for anybody. And so that way, we want to reward the people who stayed and took the additional property. I want to talk about neighborhood enterprise zones. How many people in here have an NEZ exemption? Okay, so maybe 10, 15 in this room. The rest of you are probably going to be mad about what I'm about to tell you. So around 2008, 2009, Kwame Kilpatrick got some authority in Lansing that said the city of Detroit could take up to 15% of its land and call them neighborhood enterprise zones. And if you were lucky enough to live in one of those zones, you got a 19% tax cut. You only had to pay 54 mills. This has been since 2008, 2009. So you see all that green in there? Those are neighborhood enterprise zone locations. If you're in a neighborhood enterprise zone and you have a personal residence exemption, you own your house, you pay 54 mills. If you live in all the rest of the city, you pay 67 mills. Did you know that? Okay? I mean, it's terrible. And who has the neighborhood enterprise zone? It's Sherwood Forest, it's Indian Village, it's North Rosedale, it's East English Village. That what city council adopted the map that's currently in place in 2021? All of the highest value houses in this city are paying less than the rest of the city. How is this fair? And yet I got people fighting me because you know what I want to do? I want to give everybody the neighborhood enterprise zone. I don't think it's right that only those sections are in green. What about all the people in the middle? The middle class people who stuck and stayed in this town when other people left. When is somebody going to do something for them? And so I thought I'd stand up and do something. And so here's what we know. That Stephanie Young said, okay, I agree with you about this NEZ thing, but there's a lot of people who have their NEZs, and the NEZ lasts for 15 years. She said, I don't want to take anything away. And so the legislation says, if you save more into your NEZ, you keep your NEZ. Till your 15 years runs out, you keep it. Think about this. NEZ is a 19% cut. Land value tax is a 17% cut. Some people do better on the land value tax. Her legislation says whichever one is better for you, you get the lower tax. I'm not taking it away from you. But this is the interesting thing. The land value tax gives you a 14 mil cut, but you don't have to fill out any paperwork, and you don't have any expiration date. And a lot of the people signed up under Kilpatrick 2008, 2009, 2010 on the NEZs, a lot of their 15 years are starting to come up. And here's my issue with the NEZs. They last 15 years. Those green areas have 30,000 homeowners in them. You know how many managed to figure out how to file the complicated paperwork? 9,000. Which means 2 people who live there, who have hundreds of dollars in tax breaks, it's so complicated, they can't figure it out. And so I said, this is crazy. What if we made the whole city an NEZ? What if everybody got a 17% cut? What if you got it automatically? You didn't have to fill out any form. You didn't have to renew it. What if we applied it to everybody and we sent the bill to the scrap yards and the speculators? Would the city be better off? You have heard debate in this town in the last month for people who are saying, no, I want to keep this system. I want to keep these folks in the NEZs getting 19% less and the great majority of the city paying more, and I'm on behalf of the community. That's what they're saying. And I'm saying, does this make any sense? And so this is an interesting thing. If we pass this land value tax, I showed you before, red are the cities over 60 mils. If we pass it, Detroit now drops to comparable tax rates to Grosse Pointe and Warren and Dearborn and Southfield, neighboring communities. This is what we get done. So, who could be against? There's an organized effort. Now, I've been around Lansing long enough to know when somebody's paying for an effort, when volunteers are active. And we got a few front people who are community people, but I know a paid effort when I see it. So I'm thinking, Lord, what is here? Who's taking the time to drive up to Lansing so they can pay higher property tax on their houses? And so I said, for abandoned of tons of iron and steel yearly. Why do we have to have all the recycling in our city? Why can't they take scrap yards in the suburbs? Okay, but now they're proud defenders, and okay, why did it have to be? The yards, all the tiny fraction of the charge dealerships charge, their presence has benefit. This is what Detroiters for Tax Justice are putting out there. They're saying we need scrap yards, so if you have a 2002 Chevy that needs an old fuel, you can get a little bit more discount at the auto parts. I now know financing the campaign. Got it. Okay? So now we know what we're up against. That's okay. As long as I know who's on the other side, it's a lot easier to deal with. So our proposal is simple. I want you to vote. Make your own decision. I actually think Detroiters, and maybe I'm biased because of the way that you've supported me, make pretty good decisions about the direction of the city. But our opponents have three strategies, and you'll hear it over and over. First is keep Detroiters from voting. And the second strategy is keep Detroiters from voting. And the third strategy is keep Detroiters from voting. That's all they want to do. Because if it gets to November 2024 and everybody in the city has the time to study this and they see what their tax breaks are, they know what the voters are going to do. So they desperately have to fight us in Lansing to keep Detroiters from voting. And here's one of the disappointments. There's been some Democrats on the other side. And here's our lead opponent, this fella, Dylan Wagella, of Garden City. This is our chief opponent, and here's his position. There's little proof the tax plan would work in Detroit or that city revenues would stay neutral. This deep thinker has decided that the people of Detroit can't make their own decision. But fortunately, we got a guy from Garden City who says, I'm not going to let Detroiters decide. I already looked at this, and I already know the answer. And this is what Joe Tate, the speaker, and Stephanie Young and our reps are fighting for, is we're saying, okay, if you don't want it in Garden City, fine. But let Detroiters make a decision for ourselves, right? And that's what this is all about. So how do I fight this? Now that I know what's going on, they caught me by surprise at first. I really couldn't believe people were lobbying to get higher taxes, but now I got it. So I got a simple strategy. We're going to fight back with facts and information. And I want you to help me today because we are going to roll out something that is going to let everybody know the truth about how it affects their property. And so we are tonight introducing our land value tax estimator for your house. You'll be able to see it. If this works tonight, and I want a whole bunch of people to give us numbers. We'll put them in and we'll see if it works. If this works tonight, we're going to put it live on the website on Monday so that everybody in the city can look at it. So that if you out with your friend and they said, I don't know about your tax, your tablet, you can computer. You can say, let me look at your number on your house. And here's the truth. It's going to vary because while average, what we've got, we cut taxes. But 9 tax. What was your savings? $60 or $400, you're here going forward. Show you these. So it'll value what you're paying in 2023, your summer and winter combined. This particular person pays $1,453. Then it's going to show you if the land value tax were in place right now, what's the tax bill you would have gotten? $1,254. And what's your savings a year going to be? In this case, it's $199 savings a year. Now, maybe that's worth fighting about. Maybe it's not. Everybody can decide that. This guy has a 14% reduction. What that tells me, without looking at the property, is he got a smaller cut than 17%. Tells me he's got a bigger yard than average, right? Because when we doubled the tax on the land, he got a little bit smaller cut. You're going to see people 18, 20% cuts. They got smaller yards. But everybody, at least 97%, are going to see a cut. Now, if you have a HOPE exemption, And these are people who are below the poverty level in the city, own their houses, and filled out their paperwork. They don't pay anything right now. Largely, it's seniors who work for their lives. They paid off their house. They're living on Social Security, maybe a little pension, and they get an exemption for property tax in the city. If you have a HOPE exemption and you click in your address, this is how it's going to look. You pay $0 today, you're going to pay $0 under the LVT. We don't change you on the HOPE exemption. If you have an NEZ, your change is probably going to be $0 until your 15 years runs out. Okay, the NEZ is a 19% cut, land value tax is 70% cut, probably going to be a $0 at first, but when your 15 years runs out, the land value tax is going to be worth $500 a year to you. So depending on which of those groups you are, you can see why it took us so long to do this. We set this up so every single person, Alvin Horn is here, our assessor, every single person's tax bill is set up, every person is in here, and we're going to be able, I believe, to be able to show you what you have. So we'd like you now to have some people, whether you're here in person or on the phone for the next 10 minutes or so. I'd just like people who are willing, stand up and give us your address if you want to see what your cut's going to be. And if this works well, we're going to put it out to everybody on Monday. So who is brave enough, wants to know first? Go ahead, what's your address? 17638 Winston. Are we going to put this up on the board, Kevin? Here we go. All right. So you are paying today $629 between summer and winter. You'll pay $500. You'll save $111. Okay? You probably wanted more, but that's okay. I want you to know what the truth is. Go ahead. Yes. 16537 St. Mary's. All right, so today you're paying $891. You would pay $727. You'd save $164 a year. Go ahead. Yes, sir. 18939 Shaner. That's a house. Okay? We're going to see if Kevin can spell Shaner. I'm going to be impressed. There it is. Yeah, he cheated. All right. So you are looking at $854 today, $743. You'd save about $111. Okay, yes. 13577. All right, you're not going to be happy with me. I'm not getting your vote. $27. I hope you have a small house in a really big yard. Is it? Okay. All right. Yes. 7457 American. Okay, give me somebody better than the last one. All right, you're going to look at $86 in savings. Go ahead, in the back. 14204 Plainview. You've got $85 a year in savings. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
20316 Ashton.
Okay. You heard that?
I think so.
Ashton. $171 a year in savings. Go ahead.
16094.
16094.
$215 in savings. Okay, who's next? Go ahead, call it out. Okay. Get out of the way so you guys can see it. Whoa. Okay, I'm guessing big house, small yard, huh? That's what he's got, $546. All right, go ahead. The lady behind you or the gentleman behind you, go ahead. 14377 Grandmont.
There's been a change in your tax status. Did you roll over to an NEZ homestead recently or a HOPE exemption? Yes, so you have an NEZ homestead now, but after June, so we don't have it updated for that yet, but we will soon.
But if you come up afterwards, they will look it up and give you an answer. But that your tax status is changing right now. This is really interesting. The lady's been standing patiently in the back. 16725, Avon. $287 savings. Go ahead.
16745, Foria. Foria, F-O-R-R-E-R.
There you are. $192.
3804 Hudson.
You got it? $204 savings. Go ahead.
So I'd like to thank DPW for helping me with the water tobacco I had. But my address is 16822 Patton.
$181 savings. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. 11434 Cortland. Portland. Everybody heard it but me. All right. There you go.
Thank you.
Is that you? Yes, that's correct. Okay, $97. Go ahead, yes. $187.
22469 Ray.
34422.
22469 Ray. R-A-Y.
$127. Go ahead, lady in purple, if you're allowed. She's $213 savings. Go ahead, just call it out loud. $164.
We'll get there.
BL. Here we go. $143. Did you get that?
One more time.
Okay.
Oh, tax exempt property.
You are tax exempt. So if you might want to sit down. Whatever the property is listed for, you're not on the tax rolls.
22491 Lewin, L-E-E-W-I-N.
$169. All right.
4070 Glendale. That's no 4070 Glendale.
$316. Okay, you got a pretty small yard.
14503 Grandmont.
They have an NEZ.
All right, so we got an NEZ. So you aren't going to get anything in the short run, but after your NEZ expires, you'll have about $190 a year. Do you know how many years you have left to run on your NEZ? Okay, you don't know. Okay, so you'll keep your current deal. Your current NEZ deal is better, so you'll keep that till your 15 years runs out. 6 more years, and then you'll save $190 a year permanently after that. Okay?
7169 Linsdale.
L-I-N. He's having trouble with the spelling here.
Is it two L's?
Linsdale.
All right, L-I-N-S.
716.
L-I-N-S. S. No, back up the D. S. N-S. Want me to do it? You're just messing with me now. L-I-N-S.
It's not showing up.
S. S.
It's nothing comes up in the L. 1 second. What's the parcel number?
All right, he's gonna find it. We'll see how good Kevin is. Now, how do we know that's his address?
So we looked up your address in our system, and this is your parcel number.
What address did you look up?
7169 Linsdale.
Is that you, 7169? Okay, so you've got $54. Okay, in the orange, go ahead. M. There you go. Yeah, you're not going to be happy with me. Oh, you're an NEZ. Okay, now I feel better. Okay, so you'll get $20 the first year. We're better than your NEZ. And when your NEZ expires, it'll be a permanent $188 cut. Okay? How many years you got left in your NEZ? Do you know? Okay. All right, good. I'm glad to see that was an NEZ property. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can do family. Oh! Wow. Okay. So you must have a big house and a small lawn. Okay, you're already winning here. All right.
145.
COY. There you go. $133 on the other one. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on? I'm one of those people that you're talking about that you didn't take a house from. So I don't have an address. I'm homeless.
Okay. All right, we got some folks here who can help you with that.
No,
Okay.
we should talk about this now. Okay. Like, we need to be transparent. Like, there's a whole study on Georgetown law.
All right, well, right now we're going to do the ad. I'm going to,
Detroit
hey,
Land
hang on. No, it's okay. Anthony, leave him. It's fine. It's fine. There's going to be a time for your question. I'm going to answer it. Okay, so let's just, you're fine. There's nothing wrong. But I'm going to answer your question. You can be the first question up when we finish this, all right?
We have someone
Okay. All right.
online.
We're going to do addresses for one more minute because it sounds like people are anxious to get on to other things. Yes. Okay, $103. We'll take two more and then we'll do them in the back if anybody wants. Annie Holt, I see. 14212 STAH. There you go. $332, Annie. All right. Go ahead, yes. Morale? All right, $321 for you. Go ahead, last one. What's your address? 19,000 Pennington.
Pennington with a P?
P-E-N-N?
Yeah, finding it.
Okay. All right, he's popping up, and he's going to find the parcel number. So if you go on the website, you can see about 95% of the addresses work, but when they don't, if you look on your tax bill, there's a parcel number, and you could type the parcel number in, and 100% of those work. Mm-hmm. Well, I should probably not so quickly. Can you say the address again?
No, we don't have
19000 Pennington. Can you find a parcel number?
No, we can't find a parcel number. Is there by chance another address that we could look at?
Okay, so they're going to set up in the back, and he's going to look it up. He'll figure out between your name and the rest of it, and he'll get you there. Okay, I can take one last one. Go ahead, loud. Bottom one. There you go. Oh, you got an NEZ, right? You do have an NEZ, don't you? Okay, I'm glad to hear that. So we'll save you $15 the first year, and when your NEZ expires, you'll have a permanent cut of $156. Okay, so how do you feel about this app? All right.
Nice job, guys.
So on Monday, we are going to have this on the website, and I just want you to talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, show them how it works. Because this is the conversation I want to have for the next year. There's people in here got $30, $40, $50 cuts. Worth it. But that's okay. What I want to do is for you to be informed and for you to make a decision. So thank you to Kevin and Alvin and the team for putting together that great app. And with that, we're going to start taking questions. We're going to start with the gentleman here who had the question before. And the people on the phone, can we get to the slide on what they have to do? Okay, so we will take one question here, one question on the phone. We're going to hold everybody to 60 seconds so that everybody gets a chance, and we will go back and forth. If you're on the telephone, raise your hand, or if you're on a cell phone, press *9, and we will get you in. But let's begin by tell us your name and where you live. So, sir, go ahead. I'm sorry about the way we started the conversation before, but I want to hear what you have to say.
My name is Charles Cousin. I'm sure you know now. So I flew out here from New York, no family, just with, I bought a house on the land bank, and I flew out here and packed my bags, and I'm here. And I've been working on this house, and compliance reps have been switching, and there hasn't been transparency, and one thing leads to another. Somebody from the land bank kicked down my door, and I've been going about it in a nonviolent, cool, calm, collected way, because that's who I am. But what's happening to me is not right, and I just want you to help me rectify this situation, because I'm out here to promote positivity and not to shake the boat, but things are not.
I'm going to help. Let's talk about what happened. So when did you buy the
house? About a year and a half ago. Tammy said it was 2 years ago, but you can't see what you uploaded. There's no receipts. So there's a lack of you guys need help with that.
So I'll tell you what we're doing, and we're going to do everything we can to help you. But what has happened in many houses is folks bought the house, didn't do any work on it. Of course, we have an agreement that says you'll get it done in 6 to 9 months, but as long as you're making good faith progress, we normally let you keep going. What have you done to the house to improve it?
Well, I cleaned it up. I bought windows. I bought doors. I installed these doors in these windows.
Did you put the windows in?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, where's Tammy? So Tammy, can you help him? If he actually put in the doors and windows, I hope to help him.
So, did purchase the house about 2+ years ago. He purchased the house 2+ years ago. We did not receive any updates, and we took the house. And so, at the last charter mandated meeting, I went to talk to him. I asked him to give me the proof of his updates, and I got anything.
Okay. Okay. Have you got pictures of what you've done? Can you show them to me? Okay, it sounds like we've got a communication on where you're sending stuff. If you really got pictures of what you've done, we still have the house, don't we? Okay, so we can fix this, but you got to show me you've really gotten the work done.
She's saying that there are no emails between us.
No, I just want to see the work that you've done. Have you got pictures of the windows
so
in?
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So overview. That's the before. That's what it looked like before.
Uh-huh.
This is what it looks like now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And this is what the plan is.
Okay.
So you see windows and doors, and you see it cleaned up, and you see a plan. I put this proposal
All right.
together.
You
I sent it to Tammy.
okay, hang on.
She emailed me back, you lied and true.
Okay, hang on. So hang on. I'm if you're doing work, I'm going to help you. Okay? But I've never known Tammy to lie, but his pictures are impressive. Can we please work this out and give him another chance? Okay, she says yes. All right? But I just got to say, I got a lot of neighbors in this town call me up saying the land bank sold that house, the person never fixed it up, it's still empty, it's dragging down the neighborhood. So we've got a responsibility to the neighbors to make sure you're making progress. But if you're making progress, we're going to support you in your dream. All right? All right. You got another chance. Okay. All right. Not too often I get hugs at these sessions. Yes. Okay. Mother Bernice has claimed privilege to ask the next question, whether we like it or not.
There you go. And I love my man. You won't hear nothing negative about him. I've been going with him for working with him for a long time. God. Good evening to everyone. I want to let you know I've been around here a long time, Coleman Young days, so you know how long I've been around here. And I've been in politics a long time. Mr. Mayor, I bought a house in 75, beautiful, everything. My children was grown. I raised them in that house, 4-bedroom house, 2-car garage. And I sold it in 96 of January. I believe it was January, June, I don't know. But anyway, let me ask you this, baby. I want to know, my son lives down the street. He got a beautiful home. My daughter lives it's 1422 West Grand Boulevard, all right? My son is at 93 West Grand Boulevard. My daughter is at 48. So they're between the two houses. They got beautiful houses between the two of them. This particular house is horrible. I cry every time I go to my son's house. 1422 West Grand Boulevard, right on the corner of Hancock.
Do you know who owns it?
I'm going to tell you this. He died 5 years ago.
Okay.
I was told that my name is still on the property, so I went down to the taxes and I paid almost $400, $4,000 rather, 400. Oh, $4,000 for the taxes in January. All right, then I went. They told me that it wasn't on the deed. So I paid $200. My daughter went upstairs over there on Washington and found out my name wasn't on the deed. The man's still name on there. So I got a problem.
1996.
Yeah, I know, baby. I sold it in 96. All right. So my son said, Mom, you don't want it no more. But if you look at the house, it looks horrible, y'all. I mean, the windows is all broken where they had somebody is up against the window. It's horrible. The backyard, the grass is high as the fence. It's horrible. I would like to know, can I get that house back? My son said, leave it alone. But I have a plan with the veterans. They will put 4 veterans in there to live for me. So tell me, should I get the house back or what? What do you think?
My guess is that if you sold it in 1990, you're going to get it back. But I'm going to give you. I have a former Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, and Mother Bernice. He's going to look at that deed, and he's going to tell you whether you have a case or not. I doubt it. Anybody who can figure out how to get it back, it's Conrad. Tammy, you're in.
Miss Ethlyn Carroll, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. Ethlyn Carroll.
I wanted to know what my tax is too late.
Go, Kevin, can you tell her? Tell us what you're.
6096 Northfield, North Appleton Frank, IELD.
$70. Okay, that one didn't go over very well. Right. Right. So this is what I explained before. All land in the city will have the taxes doubled. So it doesn't matter whether it's a vacant lot, a downtown parking lot, a scrapyard. Everything's doubled. It's uniform. That's permanent. Now, 4 years later, could the voters vote to say I want to have a 1 mil for the police department? But in Michigan, the only people that can change property taxes are the voters. So once you cut 14 mils, it's permanent unless somebody comes along with the millage campaign in the future and the voters change that.
I've got lots of questions,
Okay.
and I know that I'm only at 1 minute.
Okay.
And so I will see you again. I came from Jeff Chalmers, and I'll continue to ask
So
questions.
I wish we'd find somebody who could spend some time with you, because you sound like you're very passionate, and I would love to be able to go through all your questions, and maybe at a future meeting you might feel a little bit differently. But thank you for those questions. They were great questions. Let's take somebody from the phone.
Pat LaFleur. Pat LaFleur, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. Pat LaFleur.
He was talking about 17% reduction in.
Right.
Also, he with